I was told about 3 years ago that the MAS program was being eliminated from the high schools, and how it changed me. I felt that I had to. It was a duty for me. Like I could not just stand by and not protest this and not try to find a way to make this curriculum stay in the community because it was so important. Part of the curriculum and part of the school is to teach empowerment to the children and to teach them how to feel strong and feel like they have a future, feel like they're in control of their future. They were saying that it teaches anti-American type thought, and this program doesn't. It teaches you the truth of history, not the watered down version.
On April 26th, frustrated with all the denials, all the literal slander. They've attacked this program, this discipline, this curriculum, and now it's dismantled. Even in those days, they would always tell us, no, we're not trying to do anything to your program. So here we are, it's dismantled. The director's fired, etc. So at that time, the students knew what was going on. They were being given the runaround, and so they took over the school board. They chained themselves to the chairs. The community was here in mass. The entire community took over the school board. The symbolism was the chains, but the entire community was here, outside and inside. So if they were going to accuse anybody of disrupting, it would have been the entire community. So it's like sometimes when you believe in something, you do what you have to do.
I was in college and I was told that there was a meeting going on, that they were talking about eliminating the program that changed my life. And everybody, students, college students, university students, doctors, politicians, they all came out to speak against this. One of my teachers, my Mexican-American studies teachers, she stood up for too long and they said, your time is up. And she didn't care because what she believed in was too strong. And her name is Guadalupe Castillo, and so they grabbed her.
7 women were arrested, and then these youngsters were beaten, including a young woman, a student, a high school student, was physically grabbed by a police officer and thrown about 20 feet in the air. To this day, nobody has commented on it. Obviously, it wasn't investigated.
It was horrible. I wanted to help, but we can't. We can't fight them. So we just stood there in solidarity.
I want to clarify why the security is here in these numbers and the variety of agencies. I see state, Tucson, and district. Who requested this?
I think that certainly people in my agency who knew I was coming down here to talk about ethnic studies and who knew about some of the problems we've had in the past with disruptive behavior thought that it was appropriate.
I mean, by my count, there are at least 7 of them, and about as many credentialed media.
There has been disorderly conduct at other events discussing that issue, and we want to be sure that everybody's safe.
Could you elaborate on that? Disorderly conduct by who and what type of conduct?
Usually by students. We had a situation when Doris Huerta gave the speech in which she said that Republicans hate Latinos. And that created a lot of controversy. At the time I was superintendent of schools, and people came to me and said, you need to stop the controversial speeches at the schools. And I said, no, I'm in favor of controversial speeches. Kids learn from that, but they need to hear both sides. So I brought Margaret Garcia Dugan down, who was my deputy, who said she was a proud Latina and a proud Republican. She didn't hate herself. And she gave a very high-level speech about avoiding stereotypes and being skeptical of what politicians tell them. And a group of students from the as it was then called, the Raza Studies class, Raza means the race in Spanish, stood up, turned their back to her, put their fists in the air, and when the principal asked them to sit down and listen, they walked out on their own principle.
The misunderstanding happened from day one regarding Dolores Huerta. When she spoke to the audience, she took questions from everybody. The students were given a memo telling them that they could not ask questions of Ms. Dugan. That was the reason for the protest, not to show disrespect to her, but for the fact that they were being censored. In other words, listen, but you can't speak. That's very uneducational.
I was told by a friend of mine, a native friend of mine named Dave. He told me how they ripped him from Mexico, the Yaqui lands. They ripped him from his family to bring him to a school in America. And when they brought him here, they separated him. So he had to live in the school. And he could not speak his language, or he would get hit. They were beaten to the point where they didn't want to learn their native language because they affiliated it with pain. And I think that's basically what the school system is without the smacking anymore. You know, they're not causing physical pain, but mental pain to all our children because they're not letting them be free.
So when are we gonna meet to just talk about abuse and how we're gonna handle it, all the abuse cases? Because we have to change this right now, you know?
Derechos Humanos is an organization focused on abuse of authority. I'm a volunteer that comes to try to help. They're focused on like the self-empowerment of the community. They're focused on abuse of authority, not only in the sense of border patrol and police, but in the sense that people are getting evicted from their houses illegally, in the sense that people get pulled over for no reason. SB 1070, after being implemented, I've seen a big change in the marches, in the protests. The Latino community would not come out anymore. They were afraid. They won't step out of their house. They don't even want to go to the grocery store. My sister's husband was taken to Mexico for going and getting tortillas during dinner. So he went to go get an ingredient that was missing, and he never came back. And so there's my sister with all her children, and her husband's in Mexico, and this constantly happens. It starts in the streets. It starts with the police. And they target and criminalize people who they would like to see in jail, and people who they believe nobody cares about. They arrest them because it's profitable. They arrest them because if they keep you in jail, that person selling you those soups and selling that prison their toothbrushes or their clothes or the food or whatever it might be, they make money, make a lot of money. Believe that this is war. This is war within our own country against our own people. No human is illegal. There's no such thing as being illegal on a land that was put here for everybody. Our history is not pretty, by no means. It's not pretty, but it's history, and we shouldn't be writing it. We should be letting the people who got fucked over write it, because history is written by the conqueror, and it should be written by both sides. That's my dream.